Hi, I'm Bryce Crittenden.
Hi, I'm Caroline Land, and welcome back to EPL's Overdue Finds.
Caroline, how are you today?
I'm doing really well, Bryce. How are you?
Pretty good actually. Yeah, it's busy time here at EPL right now. We've got working on a lot of forward-thinking speaker series stuff. Tonight is the big night, or actually, when we're recording this, tomorrow night will be the night of our Tim Caulfield event. So hopefully, a lot of people got to go check that out when you're listening to this. And of course, March Madness has started too, and we got a lot going on today, and it's an exciting time at EPL right now.
It is an exciting time, and I'm so excited today that we're going to be talking about one of the exciting new things that EPL will be launching soon.
Absolutely. So, if you've been to our website or follow us on social media at all, you may have noticed of course, we opened, renovated Stanley A Milner Library last year, and a huge project. There was one area in it, though, that wasn't quite ready to go when we opened. And we're so excited now because when you hear this, we'll be getting ready for our big virtual launch of the kitchen at Stanley A. Milner Library. Caroline, this is incredible. Like when I started at the library like 8 years ago, never thought we'd be talking about kitchen spaces.
No, I remember when they started talking about all of the things that the new renovated Stanley A. Milner Library would have, and this was always like a jaw dropper for people. So
Yeah,
it's really excited, and I can't wait to learn more about it.
absolutely. And we have got the perfect guest joining us today. So, first of all, I want to introduce first time guest to Overdue Finds, one of our colleagues here at EPL, and she's the teaching kitchen coordinator at the Stanley Milner Library. Please welcome to the show, Zofia Trebaczkiewicz. Zofia, how are you today?
I'm fine. Thank you for that brilliant introduction. Hello, Bryce. Hello, Caroline. So nice to meet you. And thanks for having me to have this chat about the kitchen.
We do have a virtual sneak peek of the kitchen coming up on March 19th and 20th. And yeah, we're going to learn. It's funny because, like everybody else, this is unfortunately is a project I'm not working on. I'm totally jealous of some of my colleagues in marketing who are working on this one. But yeah, I'm really excited to learn more about it today. Before we get into it, though, Caroline, we talked a little bit, just mentioned a little while ago about March Madness. And when we're recording this, we just had day one
Yep.
of it wrap up. I wish we had more results to share, but we had a little bit of an upset yesterday, I think. And
Already.
I sent you a note this morning when I saw the results come in. In the books category, we had the Babysitters Club knockoff mouse. So I was kind of surprised by that. I'll be honest with you.
I was as well. That's not how I had the bracket going, but there's definitely a loyal following to the Babysitters Club. So it'll be interesting to see who they're paired with next. This morning, I was expressing to you my surprise. I don't know, maybe this is just uh, a reluctance on my part to acknowledge it, but that Forrest Gump, as of this recording, was doing quite well against Independence Day, and I found that a bit surprising.
Yeah, I think I may have mentioned to you before. I don't think Independence Day and I know Forrest Gump has its issues. I don't think Independence Day holds up as well as some people may remember. I've had lots of movies like that, aliens coming down to Earth and everything, but um, yeah, Forrest Gump though, like that was a huge movie at the time, and I know Independence Day was as well. But I
Mm.
personally voted for Forrest Gump. If I'm looking at it, I'm like, I enjoyed that movie a little bit more.
Maybe we went with the wrong Will Smith alien movie, and we should have gone with Men in Black.
I
I
think
mean,
so.
we're gonna be thinking this through all month,
We
so
will. Yeah.
yeah.
So, of course, if you're not paying attention, go to epl.ca/podcast. You'll see the March Madness bracket there. We post new surveys, new matchups every single day on our website, as well as on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Instagram's so handy because you can just like go to our stories and click on the cover and super fun to vote that way. So, before we get started talking about the kitchen, let's get into our recent overdue finds picks. Zofia, is there a certain title? I know you've been super busy, but has there been anything you've been
I
had a
always
chance
find
to
time
enjoy
for
lately?
books.
Good.
I'm one of those people that that has multiple books on the go, sort of surrounded by them. Even in this space in the kitchen, a lot of holes coming in continuously, and luckily I work in the library, so lots to choose from. Um, so. And I also look. I also read several at a time. I don't know if that's common or if you guys do the same thing, but I love to kind of, depending on the move, I sort of try this, or sometimes I think, no, this is too heavy, so I'll go to something else. So right now it's Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zahner. It's The Magician by Colm Tobin, and the book that I kind of want to sort of promote or talk about a little bit today, it's called The Books of Jacob. So this one is not in our collection yet. It is on order. We do have it in Polish, and that's how I read it several years ago. So I come back to this book a lot. I've even done little kind of translations of it for myself, and I've compared it now to the translation of Jennifer Croft, and I mean, they're not as good, but I'm pretty happy with them. Um, so this book, I don't know if if you've read anything by Olga Tokarczuk. She received the Nobel Prize for Literature for Flights, and for another novel, which is a really cool kind of more pop culture-y. It's called Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead. And also, both of them are in our collection. So anyway, going back to the Books of Jacobs, it's a pretty hefty book. It's about 1,000 pages, so you have to commit to it a little bit, and it's pretty complex. It's about a strange religious movement in a faraway place, removed 200 years back in Eastern Europe. And it's kind of, and it was written in, I think, in 2014. Um, and the writing of it is kind of, I would say that it's specifically geared as kind of like a statement against our times. So against those little, in defiance of our short attention span. Against those little kind of news bits that we have. And it's the story of a Polish Jew who converted to Islam, who converted to Catholicism, who tried to convert to Orthodox Christianity, and created a sect, kind of like pretending to be a false messiah. And his name was Jacob Frank. And then, so you ask me, why would you read this book? So the answer is, it is a book about colonialism, about enslavement, about the evils of patriarchy, about manipulation, love, betrayal, everything that we're struggling with in our times now. Except in that setting from far before, and really relevant to what is happening now, because it's set in Poland then, which is now Ukraine. And so there's all these spins, and then the language that it's written in is it's just amazing. It's mind-boggling. It's like it's going to take you to this time. You'll be so engrossed. Tokarczuk has, as many Polish writers, sort of a fascination, and she kind of, because of reading another writer, he's called Bruno Schulz. And so you can see the heritage of that writer in her work. So anyway, that's my pitch. Give it a
Nice.
try, even if you just read the one chapter. It's also, there's lots of pictures in it. There's lots of historical facts, and you might even get an understanding of what is happening in Ukraine right now. From all of the information. She researched the book for probably like 10 years. So like a mine of information, but the language is just stunning. It's like poetry, and it plays with your head. So
Don't be scared off of the 1,000 pages if once you pick it
No,
up. If it's a
no,
little
no.
heavy, that's okay.
That's right. Yeah.
Fun fact on that, EP or Overdue Finds has actually been on the charts, as they say, for podcasts in Poland based on downloads.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
son who lives in Poland right now, maybe he's listening. Hey, Luke.
Hey, Luke.
Yeah.
um, yeah. So he could be one of your listeners. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's there right now. They're hosting actually 3 refugees from Ukraine in their tiny little apartment. So
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, we're it's been just surreal watching everything on the news, and our thoughts anyway, of course, are out to everybody in Ukraine and that part of the world. And it's great to hear that people like your son are able to take in refugees like that, and
Mhm.
hopefully this gets sorted
Yes.
out soon.
Yep.
I was going to ask, did you start reading the this book because of like everything that has been happening, or did you start reading this kind of
Oh no,
before?
before I go back
Yeah.
to this book, it's one of those books. I don't know if you've read Roberto Bolano. There's a book 2066. It's got also has kind of a bit of a cult following, and it's also super expansive and it travels in time, and you can just go back to it, and there's always something new. So I read it probably about 5, 6 years ago, but now I did go back to it because of what's happening there, because it does shine a light, um, you know, on nationalism, all these things that the world is struggling right now with. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
and it has a very nuanced perspective. So
Nice.
yeah.
Caroline, what have you been enjoying lately?
I when last year when we covered Moana, I shared that there were some gaps in some of my more recent Disney knowledge. So I'm trying to be a bit better about that. And I recently watched Encanto, which is the newest Disney animated film release. We have it; it's on order in our catalog. We have the soundtrack. There's a ton of books and other kind of peripheral things about it because it is a smash hit. One of the songs, We Don't Talk About Bruno, hit #1 on the Billboard charts. So this is something that's definitely kind of getting into the cultural scene, even though it's only been really released since last November, so only out for a couple months. But Encanto is about a Colombian family that was gifted a miracle, and everyone in this family, which is now 3 generations, has a magical gift that they inherit at a ceremony when they're, kind of an older child. Except Mirabelle, she doesn't have one, and she needs to figure out what this means. So, on the night of her cousin's gift celebration, she notices that something terrible seems to be happening to their house and their family, and no one seems to be paying attention to it. So, it's up to her to understand what is happening and how she might be able to fix it if she can. So I don't wanna say too much more than that, other than to really encourage people to watch it because it is a very interesting movie that says a lot about family relationships, expectations, the importance of, supporting and loving people for who they are, intergenerational trauma. Like, this is the opening song of it is a happy, peppy Disney musical song, and I was like, "This is great, I wanna live here forever." 2 songs later, I was, like, sobbing with tears. So, huge emotional reaction from me. Really, really recommend people checking out Encanto.
Nice. I find sometimes with some of those Disney songs, like I think Moana was kind of the same way, like as in Kanto, where it was kind of like I don't think Moana was like a huge hit or anything, but then like it kind of found its audience on home video or video on demand or whatever. And some of those songs really kind of just kind of take on lives of their own, and they become so popular. So it's funny. I'm not familiar with like I am aware of the movie and have not watched it, but yeah, that song that you mentioned, I've read about it a few times, and it seems to be everywhere right now.
Yeah, and I was reading about it, and what's interesting about it is that sometimes when Disney has gone for, um, like pop hits, even some of the ballads going back to, "Can You Feel the Love Tonight," Elton John, and The Lion King, it tends to go very kind of general, like, "Can you feel the love tonight?" It's not like, "Here's a lion with another lion in Africa." Like, we need to talk about, or we need to talk about Bruno. That's a mix up with, we need to talk about Kevin. Um, yeah,
Totally different movie.
yeah, very, very different. But this is very, very plot specific. Like
Mm,
it's plot coming out in the song. There's characters. It's I don't actually know how the song has stood on its own like that, probably related to TikTok in some way, but, it's just really interesting that this almost, like, theatrical song has captured it. It's got a great beat, it's got, really fun lyrics, but it's really integral to the plot of the movie, so, yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Nice. I will add that to my to watch list for sure.
Yeah, like, there aren't a few others on there, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But what have you been enjoying?
Yeah, so I actually have a music pick this week. I don't normally have a lot of music picks, but have you ever been watching?
Dan, is it Steely Dan?
Is not Steely Dan. You can put this in the same genre as
Okay,
Steely Dan, though. This is still dad rock.
okay.
So not veering too far off course with my pick this week. But have you ever been watching like maybe a movie or TV show, and there's a song that's playing and you're like, is that so and so? And then maybe you kind of start going down like a musical rabbit hole and just being like, oh yeah, that's a good song, and so is that. So I was watching an episode of The Boys on Amazon Prime, which is a show and comic that I've recommended on the show in the past. And one of the main characters from the show, the episode starts out, he's listening to a Billy Joel song called "You're Only Human." And yeah, I heard the opening beats of the song, and of course, I know that song. Of course, Shazammed it, and sure enough, yeah, "You're Only Human" by Billy Joel. And then because of that, I started going on and listening to a lot more Billy Joel music. So Billy Joel is my overdue fine pick this week. His music is incredible. Um, yeah, it's totally kind of within that dad rock and Steely Dan type genre, but we actually have in our collection, we actually have quite a bit of his physical music here that you can borrow on CD actually. So I recommend borrowing The Hits by Billy Joel. It's got a ton of his music that, maybe you can't really name a Billy Joel song off the top of your head, but these are all songs like once you start to hear them, you're like, oh, yes, yeah, I know that song. I know this one. So stuff, of course, like Uptown Girl, Piano Man, My Life, and my personal favorite Billy Joel song, I Love You're Only Human, but my favorite one is Moving Out, or Anthony's song. So it's great music. Just I've been, like I said, I love having music on in the background when I work, and this is great music to have on at any time. So yeah, it'll bring a smile to your face. So music by Billy Joel, check it out.
It's funny you say that because I'm sitting here smiling just thinking about it. So I definitely agree with that recommendation.
Yeah. All right. So the kitchen, we've talked about it. It's almost here. A virtual sneak peek is coming up here in just a few days. And Zofia, so before you came to work for EPL, as our teaching kitchen coordinator, you had quite a bit of experience in the restaurant and catering industry. Can you tell us a little bit more about your past work and how it's kind of led to your new role here at EPL?
So my story when it comes to the hospitality business is sort of very reflective of a lot of immigrant stories. When we come to Canada, um, you're faced with all sorts of barriers. Language, certification, um, uh, connections, things like that. And so a lot of people find easily if they're willing to work, work in the restaurant business. And so that was the case with my family. And so we worked in several sort of restaurants as we were going through school, as we were kind of struggling to settle into the community. And after I graduated from the U of A, there didn't seem to be that many opportunities. And because we had this experience, or it was called Canadian experience, we decided to open a restaurant based on not that much knowledge of the restaurant business. And so that was 1987, and that's how we opened Cafe Mosaics. It was a ladies' clothing store on White Avenue. We changed it into a little restaurant, which became kind of like a mama's and papa's operation. Our kids would be in the back as they came. I just had the one son when we opened in 1987. And then we opened Two Rooms Cafe, Backroom Vodka Bar, Flavors Modern Bistro. And so, that was 20 years of experience. And basically, it was kind of like learning experience. The beginnings were trial and error. And like I told my children many years after, go to school, do it in 5 years rather than 25 years. That was the lesson that I learned. And then drawing on my experience from school, I was on a student exchange when martial law was declared in Poland in 1984-3. I was in Delaware, and I worked as a page at a library. So kind of drawing on that experience and my U of A degree, I applied at Riverbend and got a job there. And I thought, wow, happy retirement for me. It's going to be amazing because I love books and there couldn't be anything better. And, 15 years later, little did I know that we're going to have a kitchen here in the library, and that kitchen expertise will be needed. But in the time that I did work at Riverbend, I also kind of like, once you're in the kitchen business, it's really hard to just kind of drop it because there's so much adrenaline, excitement, and just the handling of the food is very rewarding. So I did take a year off, a leave of absence to open the Enjoy Center. I was on the team that opened Prairie Bistro at the Enjoy Center, and I also then managed the bakery there for about 6 months, and did smaller, larger gigs throughout the time that I've been with EPL. So I do have quite a bit of experience in the business. I've also done consulting for kitchen developments. Most recently, the Polish Heritage building that is being built, or they're planning on building, by the Royal Alec Hospital. So that was my most recent project.
Nice.
Well, this is my most recent one.
It's amazing how that all just kind of gradually comes together. Like, you're, of course, working as a library assistant at Riverbend, and then this opportunity comes up, and it's just like it's meant to be.
So I was actually, I remember Virginia was her son, my manager at Riverbend. Her son, I think, is vegetarian, and we were kind of giving her advice on what to cook. And and I was just kind of pulling recipes out of my sleeve. And I don't think she knew very much about my background, but she assumed that I had a fair amount of interest in kitchen stuff. And she asked me, "Would you like to join the kitchen team?" And I'm like, "What kitchen team? Where's the kitchen?" Yes. And so that's how it happened.
That's cool. I have to say, I have so much respect for people who work in restaurants. I have a theory that I truly believe, I think everybody should work in a restaurant at least once in their life. And when I was growing up, my very first job, totally different, but it took my very first job in high school was I was working at a Burger King, and then after that I worked as a line cook for a little bit at a Moxie's. And it's hard work, and it's unless you're kind of in it, it's so fast paced, and
Very
it's
intense.
stressful. So I've got so much respect for especially, people like yourself who have opened up their own restaurants. And I was just working part-time, but to do that, do all that hard work every day is quite incredible.
I did the restaurants were there was a partnership between myself and my sister, so there was two families involved.
Hmm.
So we did kind of manage to help each other out in ways that possibly others wouldn't be able to. So, for example, when we had kids, one of us would stay home with the rest of the children, so we never really had to rely on childcare. And we always, we preferred to stay home at night, so our husbands would be sent to work in the evening. They would take the kids to the lake during the day. We would stay home and take them to a concert or downtown for, or to Klondike days. So we kind of, split the work that way. And when we wanted a vacation, we would just post a little note on the door. Sorry, but we'll be back in 2 weeks.
Yeah. See you then.
See you then. The first time was trying because we thought, is anybody going to return?
Yeah.
How will people take this? But anyway, it worked out. So
Nice.
Yeah. When going back to your comment about when you started at Riverbend, this might not have been something you saw happening down the line.
No, absolutely. I assumed that my career in the food industry was over, and I was looking forward. And I actually started as a page. I had no experience I did have a degree, but not very much experience within the library system. So for a couple of years, I was working as a page, and I loved the the fact that I had contact, like physical contact with books. I even picked up shifts just to put the books on the shelves all day. I was really fast, and I just loved it, and discovering all the books, because when you're in the business, the restaurant business, reading is kind of like removed, so that was, and I was also, my kids at that time were older, so it was an amazing time of discovery of the library, and shock and awe at what we had to offer. So that I was a big promoter of the library across all of my friends and family, and
Yeah.
so.
I think a lot of people have been and will continue to be surprised that the kitchen is something that a library is doing. Can you tell us a bit more about what the kitchen is and what people can expect from it?
Uh, so we're part of the life skills team at EPL. So what we're trying to do is we're going to attempt to bring culinary literacy to Edmontonians. And it's actually not culinary literacy, but culinary literacies, because cooking involves so many skills, and it sort of engages your brain in so many activities that it's not lateral, and that's why I think that was one of the motivations for having the library build the kitchen in the space. So the commitment that EPL has to be a catalyst for learning, discovering, and creation is expressed in the space of the kitchen. We're going to be experiencing with different models of programming as we grow. So this is going to be a pilot year, I would say. We're getting different opinions from community experts, from chefs. We're looking forward to having people comment on what they'd like to see, what they've experienced, what works, how they would improve it. And all of this will be incorporated eventually in our programming. So for now, we're starting smaller. I'm going to be mostly facilitating, but I do have already chefs that have volunteered to work for free. So to volunteer just to start this project. There seems to be a lot of enthusiasm within the community. So it's an amazing community, because these people do not have a lot of time, and they're busy, stressed. But there is a lot of enthusiasm to jump onto this project and to make it successful. So there is an understanding that food as such is not only for nourishment, although that's a hugely important part of food, but there's like a philosophical aspect of security that you get. And not only the physical security that you're full, but that feeling that you have when you're in community and preparing food and it's good. So all of these aspects sort of, we're hoping that these will come together. And again, the tactile elements of cooking, being able to perform certain skills, all of that is part of what we're hoping to provide to Edmontonians in the kitchen.
It's so encouraging to hear that, because I know, like, over the pandemic we've been doing, also through the life skills team, which I'm a part of, and there's we've been doing a lot of like virtual, like, baking classes or cooking classes and that sort of thing. And I know we talked on a couple episodes ago about how those fill up so fast. So I imagine, when we have this new space and it looks absolutely incredible, that people are going to be so excited to use it. But also too, like you said, it's really encouraging to hear about these chefs around the city. They are super busy, as you said, and they don't have a lot of free time. So I think that's awesome that, that they're volunteering to come in and, help facilitate programs like that, and share their knowledge with people. Because, I imagine with the pandemic, I know myself, I've been cooking way more at home than what I was pre-pandemic anyway. So you definitely, imagine a lot of people are more curious about learning kind of some more of those skills moving forward.
And it also, when you know how to cook, also issues of food security, of food sustainability, they all come into play. And when you have that connection to where your food is from, um, I think it's not only that you become a better cook, but I think you make better choices. And you can sort of manage your budget better. There's really no end to the benefits of having this. And hopefully, um, yeah, and hopefully there'll be lots of people that were responding to this. My plans, like in the future, and I remember when I was leaving Riverbend, not for good. I've already been back there, but but on my last days, I was jokingly saying that you'll see me back. I'll be in a food truck, and we're gonna do a soup, and everybody here will know how to learn this soup that we've enjoyed or that I've made before for them. So that was kind of cool. And
Well, we
who
do
knows,
have
it
the
might even happen. I
yeah,
don't
I
know.
was gonna say we have the EPL to go literacy vans. So I
Hmm.
mean, those can
Absolutely.
become a food truck,
Yeah. Yeah.
like that. So
Yeah.
that's
And going into communities that, perhaps wouldn't be able to come here into the kitchen,
mhm.
and sharing those skills, I think it would be amazing. Yeah. So all the partnerships, all of that is something that's in the works, and hopefully the pandemic is, you know over or on its way out, and we'll be able to sort of connect with people on a closer personal level.
Yeah.
It has been something even beyond the kitchen and, um, EPL's programming on that. Definitely through the pandemic, I mean, I work in a branch here at EPL, and in order to, um, be compliant with a lot of the rules and the things we need to, like, we people don't hang out in the break room.
Hmm.
There is not a shared lunchtime. Things are very heavily scheduled so that only one person
Hmm.
is in a space unmasked eating at
Hmm.
a time, whereas before coworkers would, there was time to share, to connect with each other over food, to have some of those, the staff meetings where people brought in snacks
Hmm.
or different things. Like, it's such, food and sharing over food is such a huge connection piece, that I think our relationship with food and everything has been impacted by the pandemic, and having the kitchen as a potential gathering
Mhm.
location. I think there's a lot of really exciting potential there.
I agree. Yeah.
So, along those lines, what are you most excited for people to discover in the kitchen?
So I know already that the reaction towards the space itself will be wow, because everybody that has come into the kitchen, that's exactly what they said. Wow, I was not expecting this. But what I would like to expect now to see is that awe expressed by someone when they cook something in the kitchen. So gaining that confidence and seeing that, wow, I can do this. And the kitchen was set up in a way that the skills that you develop or that you can practice here are easily transferable into your own home. We don't have, well, we have some fancy equipment, but I mean, it's a KitchenAid. And it's much fancier than I have at home. I have one that's 20 years old, but it still works. And you can do it on any, mixer. We will be prioritizing um, in many cases, working with equipment, with minimal equipment. So, for example, not with a pasta maker, but with flour and your hands. So that you don't have to have a lot of equipment. We have only one pasta machine. But other than that, that's going to be the priority. So, whatever you learn here, you can easily apply to the home environment and be successful. And that wow factor is what I'm looking for when somebody makes something and say, and gains that confidence and sees that it's beautiful and tasty and that they could do it again. So that's one of my goals.
I love that.
I'm a huge pasta fan, and yeah, I'm looking forward to trying to make some from scratch for sure.
Mhm.
So, we're having a virtual sneak peek of the kitchen on March 19th and 20th. Can you tell us more about this sneak peek and what people can expect to see?
So we're going to be guiding people through the space virtually. But as we do that throughout the 2 days, um, there will be opportunities to register for virtual programs. So we have a brunch, lunch, a dinner, and a baking opportunity spread out through the 2 days. All of that is listed, and a cocktail, So if you just go to epl.ca slash the kitchen, you can see the offerings, and they the chefs that have that are facilitating the programs have listed the ingredients, have listed the recipe, the steps that you need to take. And so basically, these will be virtual classes that the registrants can follow along. They'll know what to buy for the class. Um, and then they'll be able to see how the cooking in the kitchen works. So
Cool.
it should be very lovely. And I'll be here too with the chefs, sort of making sure that everything goes according to plan. But
Yeah, I'm gonna have to hit the grocery store and pick up some stuff for those recipes because I do find that's awesome that that stuff is published in advance, so you're not just you can actually participate at home and you're not just sitting there watching somebody prepare those meals. So I love that there's that interaction part of it.
there's another. We haven't planned it for this particular. For these particular lessons, but in the future. So, for example, if we have a recipe that requires maybe an ingredient that's not readily available, or maybe that you would have a hard time sourcing, but if we have it in the kitchen, once you register for a program, you will be able to come here and get your little gift bag of spices. So that'll kind of increase traffic into the downtown library, allowing people to see this amazing space, to see the amazing cookbooks that we have, the maker space, all of it, but also to get those things that perhaps, they would have maybe hesitated to buy because they didn't know what it is, what it tastes like, whether they'll be using it again. Maybe there's too much of it, it's too expensive. So that's another sort of form of delivery of a program that we're considering.
And very similar as new and exciting as that is, it's kind of similar to our book club model where you register and you come and you can pick up a book that maybe all the the non-book club versions are checked out, or all of this. So I love how new, but also this is like a continuation of what we're doing. It's not
Absolutely.
going off in a completely different direction.
Absolutely.
So, of course, us being a library, I'm sure we all have kind of our favorite food themed, maybe books, TV shows, or movies. Uh, Zofia, do you have a favorite? Like, maybe is there like a cookbook, or is there anything that you really enjoy reading or sharing?
Well, cookbooks, I have um, literally hundreds that and I'm organizing in them in lists that will be posted on the
Oh,
website. However, I
perfect.
do have one that I want to share today.
Oh,
Long Throat Memories. So this is a book of essays, short stories by Yemesi Aribisala. And they are, I'll read you the whole title of the book, Long Throat Memoirs, Soups, Sex, and Nigerian Taste Buds. Um, it says it
nice.
all.
Yeah.
There's stories of bewitchment, eating of the sexiness of a snail, all sorts of crazy things, and a few recipes as well. Some of them don't work, but the author doesn't care. It's not that they don't work, but they don't live up maybe to the standards that she presented. So in her comments, sometimes she'll say, if this didn't work, um, you can contact me and she'll give you a website where you'll find the better recipe. But the stories here are bold, and they speak to exactly the kind of thing that we're doing is the importance of honoring tradition, of honoring food, of learning who you are through food, of not forgetting that food path that has brought you to the place that you're in. Um, and the importance of sharing this with others to make connections, community, to crash barriers. So that's the one. I love it. Yeah,
Nice.
and it's a really great read as well. So apart from all of the things that I said, the stories are really funny, and yeah, she's amazing.
Caroline, how about you? Is there a certain title? Like, is there cookbooks you like using, or is there like movies or TV shows that you like watching instead?
Well, the first thing that came to mind when I was thinking about this was a movie that I watched a few years ago called The Founder, starring Michael Keaton, Nick Offerman, and John Carroll Lynch. And I had to laugh because it's really about like the founding of McDonald's. So
Yes,
Wow.
I don't know if it counts,
that
but
counts. Yeah.
it really is. I mean, Michael Keaton plays Roy Kroc, who was I love this a traveling milkshake machine salesman, and he came across this restaurant called McDonald's, started by the McDonald's brothers, and was just taken by their fast food approach, and saw it to franchise it. And so the movie really goes into his cutthroat business approaches on that, and but also like the importance of marketing. And I just remember like the going through and how there were differences of opinion between Ray Kroc and the McDonald's brothers around, you know, the McDonald's were very s- specific on the quality of their ingredients, and that it was they stood behind everything that came out of their restaurant. And uh Ray Kroc could get something a little cheaper and a little faster, and so that caused a difference of approaches in that. So I really enjoyed The Founder, the movie. And then there was also a documentary I watched a couple years ago at the Edmonton Film Festival, who uh, regularly bring in a number of really great food documentaries. They have food movies as a theme quite often, and this is called. I found out today it's not actually Stage, the culinary internship. It's Stage, the culinary internship, and I don't. I think I'm saying that right yet, but it's a documentary that looks at a number of chefs who take part in a 9-month apprenticeship at a Michelin starred restaurant in a remote part of Europe, and how they are challenged to come up with creative food that fits into the restaurant but is also something new, and illustrates who they are as chefs and culinary workers and artists, and just really interesting when looking at the pressure, the reasons why people get into uh, the culinary work, and yeah, just a really interesting documentary that EPL has available to stream through Canopy.
Hmm.
Nice. Sounds really
Yeah,
good.
Yeah, it
yeah.
does.
Uh,
Yeah, thank
yeah.
you.
I don't know if I told the story on the podcast. Maybe it was off air, Caroline. But Cheryl and I, a few years ago, went to Amsterdam, and we were going through the Reich Museum, and we were starting to get a little hungry. And the kind of little cafeteria area within the museum was super busy. So we're like, oh, there's a restaurant like just out here in the courtyard. Let's go there. So we go there, and turned out it was like, I think it was, I don't know how many stars. It was a Michelin star restaurant. So we ate there, and yeah, I mean, it was definitely, it was an experience, and it's food that yeah, I definitely don't regret going, because not that I left full or anything, but just the way it's prepared, and just it's essentially art on a plate, and it looked incredible, and it felt guilty just even eating it. But yeah, it's something that I think everybody should try and experience at least once in their life, is to eat at a Michelin star restaurant. It's, if you're able to, it's quite incredible. Um, Mine, I've talked about this show a lot on the podcast. I'm a huge Bob's Burgers fan, and I don't know if this has even been one of my picks yet on the podcast, but we have in our collection the Bob's Burgers burger book. So if you've ever watched the show, you know that Bob has, in every single episode, there's like the feature burger of the day, and it's got kind of like a very punny name to it. And so a fan of the show, and a chef, Cole Bowden, he worked with the show's writers to create real life recipes for these fake burgers. So yeah, you can borrow it from us. There's all these interesting sounding burgers. My personal favorites are the new Baconings burger and the one horse open slaw burger. So yeah, you can check that out in our collection. If especially too, if you're a Bob's Burgers fan, you'll just enjoy kind of going through, and they have it broken down per which of the feature episode, which of the feature burgers is from which episode. Another show I really enjoy watching is, this tells you kind of about like my food taste, is diners, drive-ins, and dives on the Food Network. I'm a huge Guy Fieri fan. A lot of people kind of make jokes about him, but
I thought we had come around. I thought society had
I think
like
they have now.
brought that full circle to being back on board with Guy Fieri.
They should, if they're not. I
Mhm.
think a lot of people still kind of maybe turn their nose up at him, but
Guy
we
Fieri, if you're listening, we love you.
we do. We absolutely love it, and we would love to have you on the show. I'm sure he listens. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, we have actually quite a few books from the Diners, Drive-ins, and Dives series, where they have recipes from some of the restaurants that they tour and everything. So yeah, you can really borrow any of those. But I love watching the show. They probably have like thousands of episodes now, but I love kind of seeing the inner workings of these restaurants. Zofia, very much like you said, they are like kind of a lot of these restaurants are family run, and
All sorts of
it's
things happen.
yeah, it's they make incredible foods. So
Hmm.
go and check those out.
Okay, let's move into our roundtable questions here. Our first one, deceptively simple, perhaps, as a question. What is your favorite meal to make? Sophia?
Hmm. Well, so I like interactive meals. Um, So at the moment, right now, I cook a lot with my grandkids, and so there's two kind of things that they love soup, but that's a given. So every time I come, there's like, Babcha, what kind of soup do you have for us today? And they have their favorites, and it has to be one of those favorites. But I like to make potato pancakes for them, and then they make the toppings for them. And so it's anything from a tomato, a creamy mushroom. We will use leftovers, whatever the parents, because I'm usually there before dinner and when they get from home from school. So it's kind of a late lunch pre-dinner to kind of hold them off until because they usually go somewhere for like swimming or skating or something, and so it has to be hearty enough to sustain them. So this is really like I look forward to going there and making these for them. So I fry the pancakes, and they have a choice. They open the fridge, and whatever is in the fridge, we use. That's our inspiration to make these pre-dinner kind of snack things, but they fill them up, and they always look forward to that. And so it's not always the potato. Sometimes it's crepes, but it's always something that I kind of make part of it, and then they decide. We open the fridge, and we try to get the stuff that needs to go, because I believe in kind of like using everything that's in the fridge as an inspiration for your cooking, and then proceeding to buy after everything is kind of like cleaned out almost. And so it's my way of teaching them that, and bonding, and then sharing the food that we've all made. So that has to be the tops for me.
Yeah, for
Nice.
sure. Caroline, I don't think any of our answers are going to top that
Yeah,
one.
right? Like I'll share mine. So mine's soup, and you're like, okay, well, of course it's soup because they're children, and it's like, yeah, but that's really where I am. For mine, tomato soup and grilled cheese, because for me, it's a meal where if I want that, I really want it. Like it hits the spot like nothing else. And comfort and warmth and
Mm.
all of that. So that was my pick. Bryce, what are you making?
Probably chili. I think it's one of the things Cheryl enjoys that I make the most as well. Cause like when it's cold outside, she's like, "Can you make chili this week?" And she doesn't normally ask me to cook a lot of stuff, obviously. So I enjoy making it. It's lots of vegetables in it, and I don't eat as many vegetables as I should, but I love dishes like that because you're using them. It looks colorful, and it's good for you. So definitely, chili's my go-to dish.
Nice. Okay, second roundtable question. If you could eat at one fictional restaurant, which one would it be? Sophia?
So in that probably it would have been different a couple of years ago, but in the past 2 years or 3 years, my husband and I have been planning a trip to Japan, and so he's postponed it several times. I guess we're still on the books there somewhere, and we have a refund coming that possibly when they open up, we'll go. Um, but because of this, he's been really obsessing about Japan, spending a lot of time on YouTube in Japan. Knows Tokyo very well. But we've also been watching some movies, and there's a show on Netflix. It is called Tokyo Stories, or maybe that's just part of the name. But anyway, it features a small, tiny restaurant somewhere in Tokyo, and it's a fictional place. Um, and it's a short, like a half an hour episode. Um, and usually, what happens is they feature a dish, a traditional Japanese dish, and there's a whole narrative or story that happens because people love this dish. And it sometimes is taken outside of the restaurant. Uh, but yeah, that would be the place that I'd go, and I'd have
Mhm.
to, you know, live So right now we're kind of living vicariously through these people that are having these experiences in Japan. But I'd like to take a bite of one of those things that they make.
Nice.
Neat.
Yeah.
Is it called Midnight Diner?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Tokyo Stories,
Okay.
Midnight Diner. Yep. That's
Nice.
it. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great. Bryce, where are you going?
You know what? I want to say Bob's Burgers, of
I
course.
thought you would.
But I'm gonna go somewhere else because I was like, Caroline might have that. So I'm actually gonna go enjoy. It's not on TV anymore. King of the Hill, of course,
Ah.
it takes place in Arlen, Texas. And Texas, of course, is known for their barbecue. There's a fake restaurant on the show owned by Buck Strickland of Strickland Propane called Sugarfoot's. Sugarfoot's Barbecue is the fictional restaurant I would love to go to. Caroline, how about you?
I was really drawn to a lot of like diners, coffee shops, burger places on this. But what I ended up choosing was so there's an early episode of Frasier where Frasier and his brother Niles decide to purchase a restaurant and get into the restaurant business because they want all of the cachet that comes with it. So the majority of the episode is opening night at Les Frères Heureux, which they choose because it's just difficult enough to be off-putting and keep out people who are nervous about pronouncing it. Anyway, the whole thing is farce, which I love. You know, they make such good use of like indoors and outdoors in a restaurant. There's a big, I think it's Cherry's Jubilee that every time anyone walks by, they add a little bit more alcohol to it. And so at the end of the episode, you get that payoff. It's just farce at its best. And I think I would just want to be there and sample some of the food, but also enjoy watching all of this play out.
I like it.
Yeah. Sophia, thank you so much for joining us today. Where can people go to find out more information about the kitchen?
Just epl.ca/the kitchen. All of the
Simple.
information is uploaded as soon as we're adding more information. It's uploaded there. Yes, thank you. It was so much fun. I was a little bit nervous, but you guys are really good.
You were great. Thank you.
Yeah, this was wonderful.
Yeah.
We hope those listening have enjoyed today's episode as well. Make sure that you've subscribed so that you automatically get all of our new episodes. Please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We love getting reviews. And if you like what you hear, please tell a friend about the show.
Don't forget, as we mentioned earlier, we will have a link to everything that we talked about in our show notes, including a lot of the books that were recommended on today's episode. As usual, we love to hear from our listeners. So you can email us at podcasts@epl.ca or hit us up on Twitter by using the hashtag EPL Overdue Finds. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.